Hello, and this is JC, the Fantasy Football Explorer. Thank you for your patience while I'm trying to start up my YouTube channel. This is an old dog trying to learn new tricks. Hopefully I can be taught. I think some of the, some of the younger people born in the 21st century, they just get this tech stuff and social media stuff downloaded directly into their brain like some Matrix program, or they get programmed by Skynet. But anyway, let's get into it. Are the Detroit Lions on the rise this season? Looking at the end of last season, I'd probably say yes, they were doing pretty well. And the big reason to be hopeful is the change with the coaching staff, where they changed the play caller. They no longer have Anthony Lynn calling plays. He has moved on to San Francisco to be the running backs coach. And they promoted Ben Johnson, the tight ends coach, to be the new offensive coordinator. Now, it's still unclear whether Dan Campbell will call the plays or Ben Johnson, but it certainly has been an improvement. So that is the reason to be hopeful. Try to have a reason for everything. Now, Ben Johnson was the tight ends coach for TJ Hockenson, so there is reason to be very hopeful. Now, the offensive line is well thought of. I have them ranked as the fourth offensive line in the league this year. Starting with the offensive playmakers, let's go to DeAndre Swift. I wasn't on him as much as everyone else before. I'm starting to warm up a bit. He's being taken as the running back 9 at the end of round 1 right now. I haven't warmed up that much, but if he makes it to round 2, I would definitely take him. He's a pass-catching back. He's liable to get injured and miss 2 to 3 weeks. But definitely in PPR, if he falls to the second round, take him. Amon-Ra St. Brown. He had the big 6 weeks at the end of last season. I'm a little bit biased because he helped me out a great deal. Currently, he's going in round 5, the wide receiver 21-22. I'm fine with that. If you can get him in the 6th round, go ahead. If I can get him as my wide receiver 3 in the 5th round, great, I'm taking him. He's used in the slot. They've used him with a number of different things. They even gave him some rushing attempts last year, and he scored 1 rushing touchdown. Now, I wouldn't expect the same production for the last 6 weeks this whole next season, but looking at the first games of the season, it was pretty bad. So even if he gets a bump up a little bit, I think he's worth it. TJ Hockenson, I think he's going to be the same. There might be a slight improvement. I still think he'll be the tight end 7. People have him going in the 5th round. I don't know if I'd take him in the 5th round, but he should be solid. No problems there. DJ Chark signed a 1-year contract, a prove-it deal. I like getting players in contract years. I think they're highly motivated, and I recommend it. Now, DJ Chark right now is going in the 13th round, the wide receiver 59. That's 13th, 14th round. I definitely like him in best ball formats. He might just have that game where there's 1 or 2 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. Might be enough to help you, especially in best ball. When it comes to daily fantasy, pick your spots. I would only take him when he's playing at home. As another person pointed out on the internet, Jared Goff seems to do much better at home than away. Double check that, but it looks to be true. So if you're playing daily fantasy, DJ Chark at home. Jared Goff, Probably still is not a QB2, but you could take him as your QB3 if you're playing in a super flex. It's hard to get excited about Jared Goff, but there's a chance. So I will leave it at that. For those of you playing with defenses, I would recommend a couple of defenses this season. They are fairly well rated, so other people will know about them, the Colts and the Saints. Now, when it comes to your defense, towards the end of the season, you may just want to stream them and look for good matchups. And be careful if you play in a league where you have limited number of transactions. You don't want to get caught high and dry. Now, the Colts ranked last season 25th in sacks, 4th in interceptions, and 1st in fumble recoveries. Their early season schedule is Houston, Jacksonville, Kansas City, Tennessee, Denver, and Jacksonville. Overall, very favorable. Watch out for that Kansas City game. The Saints finished 8th in sacks, 7th in interceptions, and 21st in fumble recoveries. Their first 6 opponents: Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Carolina, Minnesota, Seattle, and Cincinnati. So be careful, Tampa Bay and Cincinnati. But otherwise, they're very highly rated in those categories where you're most likely to score fantasy points for defense: sacks, interceptions, and fumble recoveries. A later defense you could pick up, maybe the last or second to last round pick, is you may want to consider the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, they were ranked low in some of these categories: 31st in sacks, 21st in interceptions, and 31st in fumble recoveries. Last season, they had Brandon Graham injured. He's back. They signed James Bradberry from the Giants. Bradberry had 4 interceptions last season for the Giants. They have some free agent linebackers. I like what they did in the draft, drafting Davis at defensive tackle and Dean at linebacker. And the early season schedule is Detroit, Minnesota, Washington, Jacksonville. Then they have Arizona and Dallas. So the last 2 games you want to be careful about, but favorable early schedule. One last note to end on. I recommend at the very least you have 4 running backs on your roster. And depending upon how much bench space you have, you would really like 5. Finding a running back in the middle of the season is like finding a virgin on prom night. So we'll end it there. Stay well, everyone out there, and YouTube, stay free.